Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Pac-Man here, and once again, I am back for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos, as you probably expect at this point in time. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Pac-Man World Re-Pac for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, PC Steam, and finally the Nintendo Switch. So last time, we've essentially did manage to able to begin the first half of the forms of the boss mansion area by experiencing two levels up to this point, which there are Ghostly Garden as well as the forms of Creepy Catacombs. So as a result, yeah, we actually did those two levels no problem, despite the fact that we do occasionally die at one point, especially noticeable about the fact, as I mentioned this before, since about roughly 5 days ago, this is where the point where the difficulty has been slightly increased. Well, it's nowhere near as like heavily increased, unlike the forms of how it does in the original version of the game, but as a result of that kind of stuff though, and also we did somehow manage to obtain the final key in the game to able to rescue the final Pac-Man's family of members or anything else like that, which appears to be, you know, Pac-Mom. So as a result for that kind of stuff though, that's what I can really say about it. So today, for this video, is about the fact that we can exponentially try to able to rescue Pac-Mom during the course of the final platforming level in the game, before the final boss in the game. That's what appears to be body forms of grave danger, because obviously about the fact that, well, not only is this level purely long, but it's definitely one of the hardest levels in the game for some people. Well, I wouldn't say it's not nearly as difficult as the forms of how it does it in the original version to me though. But that's just because, again, with the forms of that, you know, a much more better momentum, and especially noticeable with no collusion problems as far as I'm usually concerned with that stuff. In addition to that, the flutter ability as far as this is concerned. Now, there's one thing I surprisingly forgot to comment on back in during the forms of about 5 days ago, is that whenever I look back on the forms of my playthrough of the original version of Pac-Man World, there seems about the fact that the views count seems to be felt a bit slightly lower, but as a result, that for whatever reason is that most of any other fans of mine, or to be more specifically, certain other fans of the Mexi Toys department, did somehow manage to enjoy this version a lot more than the forms of how it does in the original version for some reason. I'm guessing it's most notably because of how the fact that this is all new to them, or perhaps even maybe because of how the fact that, I don't know, biased I guess, comparing to the forms of the original counterpart. Well, it's kind of difficult to explain about any of this stuff though, but that's just because about the fact that, like I said before, it's been about 5 days ago since I've played this, so... Exponentially speaking though, is about the fact that, well, I should probably point things out right away, is that unlike the forms of how it does in the original version of Pac-Man World, that there's no extra stuff to show you guys for this point. Whilst for this particular remake this time around though, is that it's about time to able to actually show us some extra stuff of how this game offers us to. But we'll save that particular topic until when it gets to the point until this coming Thursday. So either way though, because potentially speaking it's just about the fact no matter what though, that thankfully though, that Sonic did somehow manage to able to win through the most annoying section in terms of Chaos Island. And that's what appears to be Buddy forms of this infamous pinball section, which, by the way, that as far as what he already mentioned about since and yesterday, that it's pretty much mandatory if you want to finish the game, because if you don't complete that pinball machine entirely, then you won't be able to proceed. So you have to able to complete that. So I don't feel like trying to able to repeat that process again, because obviously we just don't feel like talking about it. So, and another thing I should probably mention about this as well is about the fact that I believe that both Mario and Luigi, that they both forgot to mention about during the course of Mario Super Slugger's playthrough. And that is about the fact that recently, not only do I able to actually finally get a chance to able to pre-order the DVD version of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, but also about the fact that I somehow managed to also pre-order the Blu-ray version as well. Because obviously, much like the forms of how it does it in not only Sonic the Hedgehog 1, and also Sonic the Hedgehog 2 the movie as well, and exponentially My Little Pony the movie 2017 as well, that's basically about the fact that I just loved able to have certain films based off of my favorite franchises and all that stuff, like giving themselves not only the DVD treatment to able to watch the film on the go with my DVD portable player at any time, but also about the fact that it's get a Blu-ray treatment as well for the sake of trying to able to enjoy the film within nice 1080p quality and all that stuff, despite the fact that I have to get used to with the films of this bare bones visual presentation on these DVD menus by Universal and stuff like that, which I know for a fact that I do miss the old days about the fact that they did have a lot of charm to those DVD menus and stuff like that. Well, I suppose about the fact that it might be too expensive for able to actually make the high quality presentation as far as, you know, personalities or humor or anything else like that, even though it's a bit tricky to explain. So either way, and also chances are though is about the fact that I don't think we can probably get the game over on this run, which I guess that's a good thing, especially because we got up to the forms of 114 lives so far. So yeah, you probably get the idea about that. And by the way, for that letter A is actually pretty missable if you do not pay attention to the environment at all, so just in case, you definitely need to obtain that until you realize about the fact that, you know, we come towards the point where the fact that we've almost not only finishing up with the forms of all of the mazes, well, potentially speaking, some mazes, mind you, because technically speaking, there are some more mazes we can able to hop into. To be more specifically, once we get to that specific topic, and during at some point, as I said before, until this first day coming up. So because of this though, yeah, it's just a matter of time about the fact that this is a perfect example of why that the extra video of this particular playthrough is definitely happening. Especially because, again, unlike the original version of the game, I can never for the life of me just trying to able to actually complete, you know, a 400% completion of the original version of the game just because of how punishing and difficult that can be. Especially noticeable with the forms of Anubis Rex, and especially noticeable that, like I said before, since in 5 days ago, that I still haven't exactly beaten the bonus stage in the original version of the game, just because there was actually that bottomless pit in the forms of that particular bonus stage alone. So, thank God with the remake, they did manage to able to tone down the difficulty to make things a little bit more easier to manage, so. But either way, let's go ahead and activate the actual switch, which we've already did, and basically that allows us to go back into the later progressioning for this particular level, so. And then also, short things worth noting for is about the fact that, assuming of course if you do manage to able to obtain every single letters of Pac-Man basically, now unlike the forms of how it does in the original version, you get yourselves this awesome reward, which appears to be by the forms of the bloopers, including outtakes, or specifically bloopers slash outtakes, so you can able to see what really happens during that particular development process for that point, and especially noticeable about the fact that I found it to be very hilarious, especially noticeable, it kind of reminds me of the similar thing as you get for the sake of the forms of Kirby Superstar Ultra, except the fact that, well, it's on the PlayStation 1. So, unfortunately though, for this remake on the other hand, that the bloopers or outtakes doesn't seem to able to exist in this remake, sadly. I mean, it would be nice though, but unfortunately though, that does not seem the case at all, so. Oh well, no big deal, and I somehow died because of that particular stupid bat just gets in my way. But that's okay, because we somehow respawned onto that specific checkpoint, and we'll activate these, the last two switches right there, so we can able to become, you know, a full-sized Pac-Man, or Super Pac-Man if you will, so we can able to munch those ghosts and what have you. So, relatively speaking though, about the fact that I can't believe we're actually getting very close towards the end of the game right now, especially because, like I said before, that we'll show off some extras while we are able to actually get onto on Thursday, so. Anyways though, so let's just go ahead and actually access to the continuation of that particular backtracking point worth noting for. So, a few things I want to explain for this point today, and that is that today's date is of course the 27th of June today, and in some cases though in 2023. And as a result, for those of you who lived in the UK, happy 15th anniversary of the release of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. So as a result, while looking back on it right now, even especially noticeable about the fact that it's been better late than never back in the day during in 2008, because of the forms of the British or European localization or something like that. I still found that to be a pretty enjoyable time, despite it's kind of hard to get back into Brawl these days now, just because how most people complain about the phones, the stupid random tripping system, which is understandably so, but as a result of that kind of stuff though, while looking back in it even today, I still found it to be quite an enjoyable time, especially noticeable that, you know, we've already mentioned about that during the course of in the Japanese version or the American version, just because I just don't feel like trying to able to say that particular topic again, because I'm pretty sure that some toy sales has already mentioned about this a lot, so during the course of in the past few months, as you probably expect at this point, so here we go, on to the forms of the last maze challenge. Now, I would say the last challenge of the maze itself like this, but ultimately speaking though, like I said before, there's going to be more to it than that, because we'll show that off in during the extras video for sure. So relatively speaking though, this will be the final time we're able to participate in the maze during the course of the actual main levels, so just to ensure that we're able to unlock that particular stage, and on top of all that stuff though, just try to avoid these ghosts again, except now about the fact that they now contain 6 of them apparently, so, but when you get the hang of it though, it's actually not too shabby. So as a result, now we've actually done with the forms of that particular maze, so now let's go ahead and rescue the final member of the Pac-Man's family, and that's what appears to be none other than Pac-Mom. So hopefully we're able to actually make our way to the final cage to open, and as a result, everything should be bright and cheery and everything. So, you've earned a kiss. I knew you could do it, my darling. Now, let's do something about that Toc-Man. Yes, but before we get into that though, Pac-Mom, I need to go ahead and bash this particular chest there, which does contain an extra life, and this is actually the final time we're going to be seeing the Toc-Man statue in action, because obviously we've made our way to the very end of Grave Danger, and that pretty much leads us straight into the final boss in the game. So before we get into that though, let's go ahead and tackle through the bonus stage for the final time, just to grab some more of those collectibles as you can tell, and basically we can able to rank up some more points until we get ourselves our very special reward if we do manage to able to collect quite enough points here and there. So, which I'm really hoping that seems the case for this run, because obviously about the fact that I've already done it on the Xbox One version, but I haven't exactly done it on the PlayStation 4 yet, but hopefully I'll get around to that at some point. So, but either way though, and relatively speaking that, again, this is the final time we're going to be doing the bonus stage, because once we're done with that, we can take on the final boss against with Toc-Man, but with a slightly different stimulations this time around. Although, ultimately speaking though, as soon as you're able to rescue all of the actual rest of the Pac-Man's family, basically, oh, I realized I got time over, but that's okay, because we've already technically completed it. During the course of in the previous 2 stages, I'm guessing because I wasn't paying attention, so hopefully we'll try to able to get even more points, assuming of course if we do get enough for the final boss throughout the whole game. So, like, I still can't even believe about the fact that that was actually pretty ridiculously rare during the course of in a previous level, which as a result I somehow managed to get myself my Galaxian Fever, which as a result it gives me a ton of extra lives, but still, pretty easy to get extra lives in this game, especially noticeable because of the score tally and all that stuff, so oh well, no big deal, but at the very least we're able to actually get even more points, and that pretty much almost leads us to, oh perfect, because that will give me 4 more extra lives, and as a result, despite I did die twice, but that's okay, because relatively speaking though, it's about the fact that, well, we made our way to the final boss in Pac-Man World Re-Pac. So, either way, we're going to Toc-Man's lair, and this time what appears to be over there instead of all the way to the right, unlike the original version, so that seems interesting. Welcome back, darling. I knew you would come rescue me. And that's all she has to say. So either way, and just like the forms of how it does in the original version, I think there's going to be a cinematic cutscene before we take on the final boss in the game. So here we go, into Toc-Man's lair, and hopefully we should finish him off once and for all. So first off, we got ourselves a cinematic cutscene to watch. Still, I really wish if they do have some proper voice actors in that particular cutscene, in addition with the forms of Toc-Man's intimidating voice, once he's actually pop up, but oh well, beggars house can be choosers, I guess. So as a result, I apologize for my comment take is a bit still to that point again, but that's just because that's what I could really say about this. So here we go, against with Toc-Man in Pac-Man World Re-Pac. Now this boss fight plays kind of identically to the forms of how it does in the original counterpart, except now that he does have some more attacks. Like for instance, he managed able to use his jetpack to able to actually just try to able to attack you, but of course you do need able to move out of his way, so just in case you don't want to able to get hit by him. And on top of that, he now starts able to use his arm cannon to able to fire projectiles at us. So, and basically just like the forms of how it does it in the original version of the fight, that basically you can able to collect those Pac dots and you can able to potentially use them as the actual fire projectile or something like that. And basically it's about the fact that this entire boss battle is actually divided into 3 segments. Like, specifically 3 phases most likely. Like, the first phase is pretty simple. Basically it's about the fact that you need to able to dodge his attacks, and that's pretty much about it. Definitely one of the easiest phases as far as I'm concerned. Now as far as the forms of the later phases as far as this is concerned, oh man, you might see nothing yet. But as a result of that kind of stuff, I will explain on that in a moment. So, and of course, just like the forms of how it does in the original version of the game, that basically, the more you get hit, and also when you're trying to rescue, you know, the majority of Pac-Man's family and stuff like that, just like before, he'll try to able to help you out if you keep on getting hit a lot against with Toc-Man. Like, for instance, with, Polka, as well as Pac-Dog, and, Professor Pac, and Pac-Sis, and Pac-Boy, or if I like to call him Pac-Jr., and especially noticeable with Pac-Mom, and as a result, it gives you a lot more health, so that way you can able to actually resume the fight. However, if you do die in this fight, much like the forms of how it does on the majority of the boss fights in the game, you have to start all over again, so meaning about the fact that all this progress you've went into, well, you have to able to redo them all over again, like starting from square one. So either way though, that's what I can really say about it, I guess. Oh geez, he's actually going to a metal transformation this time. Okay, that's a little bit different. So basically, here we go on to the second phase of the fight, where basically he now starts to decide able to use his butt bounce, and also cause some shockwaves in addition to that, about the fact no matter what those, you have to able to dodge his attacks, just like always. But in order to be able to deal the damage on him on the second phase, is that I believe you do need a Metal Pac-Man power-up. So just to ensure that you can able to deal the amount of damage to him. So as a result, yeah, so I can really talk about this, I guess. And I'm pretty sure in each and every single phase, you do need to able to hit him for about roughly 8 times with each phase, making a grand total of, let's just say, 24 hits, which is quite a lot compared to the forms of how it does it on the previous boss fights in the game, because I know for a fact that in, you know what I'm saying about the fact that with the wind back is actually super duper easy, and even especially noticeable with Anubis Rex is nowhere near as unfair as the forms of how it does in the original version, which I'm great for, and especially noticeable with King Galaxian is actually super duper easy as well, and on top of that with Chrome Keeper, because obviously about the fact that with the actual change of a fight style as it goes out to be, and exponentially with the Clown Racers is just for the race, and that's all there is to say. So either way, so yeah, not much else to say about this for the most part right here, so it's just about the fact that, as you can tell, I'm trying to concentrate for this point, because if I somehow lose concentration right there, then obviously I'm also able to get hit a lot. But then again, if you let one of your Pac-Man's family members decide to able to join in, and of course you need to rescue them, just like the forms of how it does it from before. But there's one key difference I just realized this time around for the sake of the forms of this remake, compared to the forms of how it does in the original version. Now, normally in the original version of Pac-Man World, that in order to able to get to Toc-Man, is that you need to rescue all of the members of the Pac-Man's family first, and then once you've done so, then obviously you can take on Toc-Man for reals. Whilst in here this time around, it does have two different endings, depending on how the fact that if you do manage to rescue the rest of Pac-Man's friends, or the majority of Pac-Man's family, basically. Like, after all, we've already rescued all 6 of them, basically, so we'll expect you to be able to get ourselves the best ending of the game. So as a result of that kind of stuff, though, that's all I can really say about it. But if you didn't rescue any of one of those friends, or one of the family members as far as this is concerned, I believe you potentially get yourselves the bad ending, which, as far as I'm aware, for the bad ending, I think the bad ending plays pretty much like the Phones of Paradise in the original version. Now, as far as I'm aware, that with the best ending does have a bit of a slightly changed significance or something like that. Well, mind you, again, it's been about 5 days ago since I played this game for sure, but either way though, I guess that makes it pretty obvious, so... Oh, and also you need to avoid that particular flame part as far as what Toc-Man has somehow created, because obviously if you don't pay attention to that at all, you're also expecting to be able to get hit a lot, so... But either way, I think that's as far as I can say about the forms of the second phase, honestly. It's actually kind of a middle of the road, honestly. So because of that, though, assuming, of course, if you know exactly what to do. Because I know for a fact that unlike the original version of the fight, that basically not only that particular boss fight is extremely challenging, but also about the fact that you have to do it with, like, well, at least potentially speaking, though I'll admit though right away, I do kind of still prefer the original version of the fight, honestly, just because of this intimidating laugh that he constantly pull off, like every time when you get hit by his attacks, and basically he goes like every time whenever you get hit, which I found was kind of creepy and disturbing at the same time, because as a result, that's the reason why I do prefer the original version slightly, just because of not only for its challenging moments, but it's also about the fact there's a lot of intimidating parts, which I always admitted though right away, I do prefer that particular tone of that particular Toc-Man's impression or something like that, because I don't know, something about with the phones of the remake though just seems a bit safer, I guess. Well, I totally get it for its redesign, but either way though, that's as far as I can say about it, I guess, so... Oh, and also another thing I should probably explain about this as well, is that I was expecting about the fact that if I was gonna able to say, that, I guess I might also say this right now, that by that time until tomorrow, it's been about a year ago since when this game was first announced, back in the forms of the Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase in 2022, even though despite the fact that Sonic has already mentioned about, ever since in Sonic Frontiers playthrough, that basically back in 2022, that, well, there's only one Partner Showcase in 2022, despite, you know, the E3 cancellation thing during the forms of not only in 2022, but also with the forms of 2023 as well. At the very least though, about the fact that it's been about a week ago since we've actually have ourselves our second installment of the actual general Nintendo Direct ever since in, well, ever since about a week ago almost. But either way though, it's hard to explain really, because again, it's been 5 days ago, so... And, whatever I managed to remember about the fact that when this game first announced, back in new forms within a partner showcase thing, as I mentioned earlier, that I remember very excited about this, especially it almost caught me off guard for a moment, because not only does it show us some more gameplay footage of Sonic Frontiers, but also with the forms of Mario Plus Rapid Sparks of Hope, which it turns out not only does it reveal some more gameplay footage, but also with the forms of a new trailer, I guess, but also with the forms of Bowser to become a playable character ever since, and the last time that Bowser was to actually become a playable character in the RPG game, which appears to be Mario Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, which as a result, yeah, it's actually very cool and awesome at the same time for me though, because obviously about the fact that Bowser has always been, you know, the pretty cool character to utilize with during the forms of the RPG elements to it though, so but either way, that's saying something, so... So as you can tell about the fact that I unfortunately got screwed over during the forms within the last phase, because obviously about the fact that I, for whatever reason, just got a bit too hasty all of a sudden. So as a result, like I said before, if you die at any point on the second phase or the third phase of a fight, well, you have to do the entire boss fight all over again, back in square one. So as a result of that kind of stuff, though, I just don't know why they couldn't be bothered able to actually have multiple checkpoints every time whenever you go to the next phase. But either way though, hopefully this will be my second attempt for this fight, because I'm pretty sure about the fact that this is one of the points about the fact that sometimes that his attacks, or especially noticeable with the entire battle itself, just feels kind of all over the place to me, especially noticeable because for whatever reason I'm still pretty much used to with the original version of the final boss, just because of how I will admit though right away that the final boss in the original version, while challenging in some places, but I'll admit though it's about the fact that we actually did that boss fight no problem, despite the last phase of the fight, which involves around the referral part. That's always been the hardest part about the fight. But aside from that, it doesn't take me multiple attempts for some reason. Or maybe because I was pretty good at the forms of certain skills and all that stuff. Maybe, I guess. So, but hopefully we'll try to get ourselves back on track for the third and final phase. Because as you can tell, on the third and final phase, basically he becomes giant. And basically in order able to deal the damage on him during the giant form, is that you need to take down either the left foot or the right foot. Because obviously both the left foot and the right foot also has its own separate health bars, and then once you're able to topple him down, basically it's your chance to able to deal the amount of damage to Toc-Man. And I think if I recall correctly about the fact, no matter what though, I made a mistake from earlier about the fact that originally I did say that we're about to dealing with him for about 24 hits, but as it turns out I was wrong, because as a result we're about to be able to hit him for about roughly 19 hit points or something like that. Well, mind you, again, it's been about 5 days ago, which I think I've already repeated that particular topic like quite a few times, which I'll admit though, I apologize for that, especially noticeable because honestly guys, that's as far as I can talk about in terms of the forms of discussions alike, especially noticeable. That's a good thing we've already mentioned about a lot of stuff, thanks to the forms of the recent Nintendo Direct that already came to its existence, ever since about, like I said before, it's been about a week ago now. Well, almost a week ago actually, so even then though, that's saying something. So, and exponentially speaking though, speaking of the Super Mario Bros. Movie on the DVD and Blu-ray, we've only just got roughly about a month away until the actual film finally come out on DVD and Blu-ray in the UK's release. So, still, I'm very happy about that, especially noticeable as a good thing I finally managed to pre-order those two versions of the film. The only one exception is of course the 4K Ultra HD, because I still haven't actually access to not only the PlayStation 5, but also with Xbox Series X, because, well, somehow my TV won't be able to have the compatibility with the actual, not only with PlayStation 5 quality, but also with Xbox Series X quality as well. I mean, it would be nice, but it doesn't seem likely it's gonna happen, so either way, that's saying something, I suppose. So, but I digress. So, again, I would have liked able to explain any other details for this point, but even then though, I think it was probably best to able to save some more conversations during that time. To be more specifically, once we able to get onto the forms of the final video for Pac-Man World Re-Pac, and also we're able to actually say this right now, once we finish up with the forms of this particular game right here, it's kind of sad that we're about to able to take a break on the majority of the Pac-Man World series as of now, because aside from all that stuff though, it's about the fact that, well, it's a shame that the actual thing has to end this way, so. But I'll admit though right away though, is about the fact that it's been a pleasure ride able to go through ever since in 2019, despite the fact that back in the old days, where basically about the fact that we originally did done Pac-Man World 2, and not only on the Nintendo GameCube, but also on the PlayStation 2 version for some reason, despite they both played exactly the same as each other, except with some oddities for the loading screens and all that stuff. But I'll still admit though right away though, I did have a great time playing Pac-Man World 2 in the past, and it's even greater about the fact that I've now got both versions of the game again. Especially noticeable because I absolutely still adore Pac-Man World 2 a lot. And especially noticeable about the fact that, well, exponentially speaking, it's about the fact that now we've actually got, let's just say 2 versions so far for the sake of the forms of Pac-Man World 3, despite how controversial that game can be. But as a result of that kind of stuff, though, I honestly don't care about it. Because obviously about the fact is just to see how the fact that with all these 2 versions compared. Well, at the same time though, it's about the fact that if I potentially got bored on any other stuff for that matter for this point, then obviously I can probably head back into Pac-Man World 3 for quite often as far as this is concerned. Well, despite the fact that my GameCube does have a bit of some struggles here and there when it comes to reading discs, or potentially speaking just keeps on sending me this error screen. But either way though, oh yeah, much like the forms of how it does it in the, well, the original version of the fight against with Toc-Man basically is about the fact that, well, he does this referral thing which you definitely need to avoid at all costs because obviously he's now huge and everything. So as a result, it's definitely a little bit trickier, but at the same time, when you get the hang of it though, it's actually not too shabby, I guess. And you can also deal the damage on his feet with the forms of the power pellets if you wanted to. But either way, that's pretty much about it for Toc-Man, so if we think we're basically done, right? Well, as it turns out, well, he's not done. And exponentially, we get ourselves the big power pellet. And generally, we're able to finish him off for good, with a button mashing to end things off. And there goes Toc-Man. And that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up for the sake of Pac-Man World Re-Pac. Now, as you can tell about the fact that we stumbled across into the best ending of the game, which actually features the point where the fact that it did alter slightly, for that ending anyway, because as I said before, that unlike the forms of how it does in the original version of the game, that it only shows one ending, whilst in this version this time around shows us 2 different endings, which as a result, I'll show off the bad ending on the extra video, because obviously about the fact that it might plays out exactly the same as the original version. So whilst in the forms of the best ending in this particular version, as you can tell, basically rather than just eating Orson or anything else like that, so as a result, Orson tells Pac-Man to forgive him, and as a result, they somehow accept the actual friendship. And as a result, they did not only invite the rest of the forms of the Pac-Man family, but also they somehow invite most of those ghosts as well. So, kind of an interesting ending, I might add. And as you can see on this death credits sequence right here, is about the fact that we can able to take control of Pac-Man in this auto-scrolling maze-like. And as a result, about the fact that you can able to do the usual collecting all these Pac dots, and as you can tell about the fact that we've started able to collecting those letters, which actually represents thanks for playing, or thank you for playing, as far as this is concerned. And also, as you can tell, about the fact that we stumbled across into a vocal theme song, and that's what appears to be known as We Are Pac-Man, as the actual theme song of this particular credit sequence. So, I've never actually get to experience that particular song for myself, but I'm curious to able to listen to it, especially noticeable. I'm pretty sure it does have a multi-language version of it. Like, I know for a fact that the one we're going to be listening to right now is the English version. Now, I think there is also the Japanese version of this, although I may be wrong. Mind you, it's been about, again, 5 days ago since I played this game, because obviously with Sonic Frontiers and all that stuff, but still. So, anyways, let's give my final thoughts of Pac-Man World Re-Pac. Although I would able to actually briefly mention about this before I get into more details of my actual final thoughts of this remake compared to the forms of how it does in the original version, I'd say you're probably able to recommend it, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, for those of you who ever missed out on playing the original game, even if you are a Nintendo fan or an Xbox, Microsoft fan, then you should able to actually give this game a chance, especially noticeable because obviously the original game was only exclusive to PlayStation 1. So yeah, it's pretty nice to able to see this particular game gets its remake treatment. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, yeah, I think I should probably explain about my true final thoughts of this particular remake until when it gets to the point until the final video for the sake of the forms of this game. Because of that though, as I mentioned this before, that we're not exactly finished with this yet, because, well, I think, suffice to say, we're able to actually get ourselves our final special reward if we do manage to get enough points. So, and of course, this will be the last time we'll be seeing these slot machines in action. Well, I would say most likely, though, but either way, though, then again, we'll discuss more details onto that on the extra video. So, with that said, we got the endings of this point right here. So, join me on Thursday for more of Let's Play of Pac-Man World Re-Pac, and that will show off the final few extras of how this game offers us to. So I'll see you guys on Thursday. Later, fellas.